Nader Hashemi is the director of the Center for Middle East Studies at the Josef Korbel School of International Studies at the University of Denver, and he joins us now on Skype. Good to have you on. Now, let's start off with the words uttered by the U.S. Secretary of State. He said, quote, we'll be talking with them, obviously referring to the Saudis and Emiratis, about how to make sure that we're all strategically aligned and how we can build out a global coalition on Iran. So my question to you is, how does this sort of fit into the U.S. saying that it's ready to negotiate with Iran with no preconditions?
Well, there's a lot of contradiction and confusion coming out of Washington these days with respect to its Iran policy. As the world saw just a couple of days ago, we were on the edge of a major military escalation between the two countries, and Donald Trump pulled back. So I think what's happening right now with respect to Secretary of State Pompeo's visit to Saudi Arabia and to the Emirates is to try and reassure them. These are two countries that have been strongly in favor of a military strike on Iran for a very long time. And I suspect they have been extremely disappointed in recent developments, particularly the decision by Donald Trump to cancel the proposed military attack on Iran last Thursday. So I think that's primarily the purpose of his visit. In terms of the official position that Mike Pompeo is articulating, that the United States supports diplomacy with Iran, I suspect that is more of a propaganda exercise than a serious offer toward Iran. Iran has, I think, good reasons to be suspicious of what the United States is saying today, particularly because they pulled out of an international agreement, a nuclear agreement that had the support of a UN Security Council resolution and, the support of virtually the entire international community. So I think what we're seeing right now is the attempt by the United States to try and provide some coherence to its own foreign policy, when effectively, if you ask me, there's at least two foreign policies. There's the hawkish foreign policy that Mike Pompeo and Bolton are promoting, and then there's the policy that Donald Trump is promoting, which seems to be a replica of his North Korea strategy.
Okay, fair enough. So you say there's a contradiction within Washington, D.C., but what happens when things change on the Iranian side? What I'm talking to is next week, they're likely to exceed their uranium stockpile limits set out under the JCPOA, which they said they would last Friday. What's the U.S. stance going to be after that?
Well, I think the United States is going to take that as an opportunity to try and convince the Europeans that now Iran is in breach of its commitments under the nuclear agreement, and to try to bring the Europeans onto the American side, saying that Iran can no longer be trusted, and it's starting to take steps toward producing a nuclear weapon. That's complete, of course, hypocrisy, because we are at this crisis moment. We are facing this very tense situation as a direct result of the policies of the United States government to remove themselves from the nuclear agreement and to put crippling sanctions on Iran, hoping to collapse the government, or to, if Donald Trump has his way, negotiate a new agreement that will be different from the one that Barack Obama negotiated. So I think, you're right to point to upcoming events with respect to Iran's breach of the nuclear agreement. It's increasing its enrichment capacity. That is going to be an opportunity for the United States to try and exploit to pressure Iran further internationally.
Okay, you had the multiple attacks on oil tankers. You had the downing of the U.S. surveillance drone. You have Iran announcing that it's going to start enrichment, the enrichment process, or quadruple the levels. Sanctions are ongoing. Now you have the cyber attacks. Where do you see all this going?
Well, I think we are heading to war. I would be very surprised if between now and November 2020, the date of the next U.S. presidential election, if there is not a major military confrontation between Iran and the United States. It almost happened. It almost happened on Thursday night. Donald Trump pulled back, but nothing I see is going to change in the coming months. And I think all that is really preventing the outbreak of another war in the Middle East is Donald Trump's political judgment, his own sense of maturity and sagacity. And that's not a sobering thought given Donald Trump's temperament. So I think we are in very difficult waters, and the prognosis does not look very good for the future.
All right, Nader, thank you for that. I appreciate your analysis.